What is up, gamers? I'm Lemon Inc., aka Just Lemon, and I make games. Visual novels, to be exact. To avoid spoilers, go ahead and check out the game I'll be discussing in this video. It's free! Now, if you guys know my last video, which please pretty please watch it, then you know I've only fairly recently gotten into game deving seriously, and under some squishy time constraints. So what better way to continue on in my journey than to increase that squishing fivefold and make a game in not 72, not 48, but 36 horas? Don't worry though, I have a partner this time. Hi Catherine. I'd also like to take a second to mention that there were a few games that I made in between last time and this time, but the jam is currently ongoing and I need to strike while the iron's hot if I want to get that sweet, sweet blue sky traffic coming my way. So we'll get into those another time, trust. Ahem. Let's get right down into a possibly familiar spiel. Velox Formido. It's a game jam hosted by Robo Barbie and Ali Vera, both of Blooming Panic fame, in which you're given 36 hours to make a game from a community-voted theme that's revealed 9 hours into the jam. That's right, each Formido has a twist, and this time it was a late theme reveal into what is already a paltry amount of time. The theme? Well, just like us, I fear you'll have to wait to find out, dear viewer. Phase 1. Preparations. Based on my previous explanations, you may find yourself thinking, how the hell does one make a game that's on theme when they don't even know what the theme is? Luckily though, I have an answer. Going into this and knowing the 9-hour delay twist, Catherine and I already had a strategy cooked up. Start with a concept that could be generalized to fit the final round of themes we were shown, and write up how to focus a story depending on what theme ended up being announced. The themes we had it down to were You're Not Them, Something Bitter, Something Sweet, Beneath the Mask, Role Reversal, Necromancy, If They Could See You Now, What Did You Do, Over My Dead Body, Bury Your Past, and Never Gonna Give You Up. There were obviously some we preferred over others, whether it be for story reasons or out of principle. I'm looking at you, Never Gonna Give You Up. So, finally, as the clock hit 5 for us and the jam officially started, we were ready to hit the ground running. Even though the idea was to make a malleable story, we still needed some semblance of a backbone to have a story at all, so here's what we cooked up. Superheroes. And no, it's not just because of Behind the Mask, but because we're both mega binary star hero fans, and I'm legally obligated to say that Catherine got me into it, that we had wanted to do a superhero story for a while. Hell, I'm even working solo on one right now. Conceptually, I just love superheroes. So, okay, we have a general vibe. Superheroes. But what's the story? Well, originally we started with blonde yandere superhero because we have a type. The idea was that the player is a villain going toe-to-toe with a beloved public hero that's secretly a mega yandere for them, bringing up the question of are there really any heroes to be found in this story? The answer, of course, being no. Like I said, conceptually I love superheroes, but what I love most is making anything but real heroes. So, who is this mysterious superhero and what makes them so super, you may be asking? And for that of which we would have replied, Fuino. Yeah, really emphasizing the conceptual part of loving superheroes because damn, are these bitches hard to brew up. We easily spent most of those 9 hours of hell stewing over what his powers were and how to name him. He had to be a sort of golden all-American boy with powers that could be passed off as noble but had a unique and saucy origin from the labs. Back and forth we went, scouring every public superhero naming website and generator you could think of, but to no avail. Finally, after what felt like, and actually was, hours, we settled on a name and power set. Cypress, a hero who boasts super strength and aptly named after the tree, he'll pull evil up by the roots. In actuality though, he's had fungal DNA spliced into his genes and emits spores that weaken opponents and causes illusions that he uses to paint a much more conventionally heroic persona. You, or MC, on the other hand, have a bit more of a conspicuous fingerprint from the testing you two underwent at the lab, your DNA being spliced with a female anglerfish, causing you to become essentially a fish person with the ability to daze and influence others. You're not the most pleasing to the eyes, and the public takes to naming you after one of 3 choices. Comment down below if you get the reference from one of them. So there, we have our main characters, that's a start, but what's next? Well, Catherine, resident writer extraordinaire, then led the charge on this one, with the core premise going as follows. You, resident evil villain, are caught in a compromising position by the hero, with the game switching back and forth between the present and past to show the nuanced relationship you two have. The central ideas here being the hero once betrayed MC's trust and left them behind, and the two now having conflicting motives of, how dare you leave me behind, I'll drag you down with me, versus, this world isn't good enough for you, so I'll become the only one worth living for in it. Remember, this is a yandere hero we're talking about, so we have to have some crazy ambitions for him that combine the pursuit of justice with his love for MC. With that in mind, we then moved on to game plans that molded the rest of the story depending on the possible themes. Phase 1.5. Theming. Alright, I've left you in suspense for long enough. Here is a list of the potential routes we were going to have based on the themes, and at the end I'll reveal which one ended up winning out. And I'm reading these off of bullet points, so forgive me. So first off is You're Not Them. The idea is that you're no longer the lab experiments from back then, and though Cypress wants to go back to your relationship from the lab, MC's been betrayed one too many times and can never fully forget that. Something bitter, something sweet. Showing more of a contrast between the two roots, the bitter root having a strong love-hate thing, and sweet root is saccharine, and puts Cypress on a sort of pedestal, beneath the mask. Cypress's personality the whole time is that polite, efficacious golden boy persona, but as the story progresses it breaks down more and more until either it's this love-hate relationship, or he's desperate for you and just doesn't know how to keep you, but beneath the mask he's still just Subject 06. Role reversal. There's more emphasis on the endings where you go from villain to hero by taking his role, or you become a docile house pet and he's the villain marionetting your every step, making you question really who is the hero in this situation and who is the villain. Necromancy. The roots are split by redeveloping your feelings for him, or still no longer liking him, sort of bringing back to life old feelings. It leans more into betrayal and how the two of you are completely different now even though you started at the same place. If they could see you now. In the lab, Cypress was ruthless and a killer, and now he's pretending he's not. We're ditching the yandere thing, and he's just capturing you to keep you silent, and you can be like, this will never change who you are and what you did. But, of course, you're still being kept in a cage. What did you do? MC is caught for some heinous crime, and he's like, what did you do now? Because they're a high-profile criminal, and they're like, well, what did you do? Over my dead body. Either you kill Cypress because you want revenge, or he kills you because he thinks this world is no place for you. Bury your past. Cypress and MC's lab experiment past being emphasized and being buried as they pursue these new lives. Mainly Cypress, though. Never gonna give you up. More emphasis on the yandere side of Cypress, and in both routes he still becomes integrated with MC anyways. And the title for this was, But I'll Always Let You Down, which I just... yeah, we really were hoping that it wouldn't be this, but if it was, then we're gonna say balls to the wall. Fuck it. But yeah, and now that we have that over with, I can announce that the winner was... You're Not Them. Phase 2. Writing. Okay, so as I said before, this time I was not the writer for the project, but instead the mantle went to my insanely talented friend Catherine, who is an actual writer, so things were looking good. Now guys, 36 hours is not a lot of time to do much of anything in terms of making a whole game, and writing from the idea stage to fingerpad to key to proofreading can take a while. So we were going to need to keep a manageable scope on this project and make it a few quick bites of, oh my gosh, she wrote 11k words. Okay, well, point still stands. The story is comprised of quick shots between the past and present, with the past flashbacks being shown in a reverse order to really nail down the hurt. Hurt? Oh yeah, did I forget to mention that there were some changes to the initial script? Why don't I instead suggest that you, I don't know, play the game, and just read the little summary that we have on our game blurb page. Between you and him, something has to give. It's been too long since you've seen the man that now calls himself Cypress. He's now one of the hottest new stars in the hero industry, rising above the nameless crowd of hero hopefuls. But what his fans don't know is that Cypress hides a secret, one intertwined with the past that both of you share. And unlike his fans, you won't be so quick to forgive. This time, Cypress can't run from you. Now, I'm gonna give you a few seconds to click off and go and play the game. Let's just say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, did you play it? Good. I'm gonna assume that you played it. So, we all know what the story is now, but for those of you who are less analytically inclined, here's a little summary spiel of how we incorporated the theme. You're Not Them. It's a broad, stretching theme and one we tried to mix in every aspect. It's a multitude of things. For MC, it's that they're not one of the fortunate selected, a person able to bask in the limelight due to their unfortunate appearance and upbringing. In the endings, it's that, despite how hard they push, they'll never be Cypress, or even someone worthy of being by his side in mind or memory. For Cypress, it's a harsh lesson for MC. Cypress isn't a hero like he says, but he's also not Subject 06 like they so desperately wish for. He's neither who he says he is, nor what others believe him to be. As for the both of them together, there's a lot of things that they're not, whether it be in the first place or by the time we catch up with the story. Neither character is a quote-unquote good person like how they speak of, and neither of them will ever be who they were in the past, no matter how desperately they may wish for it. End of story. Phase 3. GUI. Now, I have to confess, I've been working on a superhero VN of my own, so I've drained myself of the superhero comic book aesthetic. Thus, despite this being a superhero-themed game, I decided to pay more homage to the science and lab techie aspects of it. I feel, though, that this fits the tone and story better. Combine that with the occasional fish motif in the corners, and we've got our GUI. Gotta say, I'm especially proud of figuring how to do the click to continue animation and the little screen icons that pop up next to the text box that depend on the speaker. Really dropped the ball on the menu buttons, I'll admit, though. Phase 4. Art. So, considering the time frame of it all, I focused on making 1.5 main sprites for the game, but by goodness was I going to get as much ussy as I could into them. I'm talking blinkin', open closing mouths, fluttering capes, etc, etc. Cypress, or Canis, is the only character that shows up with this mysterious flashback sprite and his main present sprite continuously being on display for a majority of the story, so that made putting a bunch of bells and whistles feasible. For Cypress's design, my main prompts and image references from Catherine were basically just crazed, blonde, blue-eyed yandere, and yes, it was narratively important that he be blonde and blue-eyed. From there, I sketched him out, had a number of heart attacks from not being able to sketch out a pose, and then continued on with him shirtless because I'd just come off the heels of designing superhero outfits for something else, once again the VN, and I could not for the life of me spare more brainpower making him a unique and thoughtful fit. So let's just say that the generalness of his costume lends to his character and move on, shall we? Oh yeah, and once again, to no one's surprise, there was no time to get backgrounds done, so we're going with pictures. Phase 5. Programming. Phew. Now, the obvious dominator of my programming time and brain cells was doing layered images and animations for close to the first time. True, this was not my first foray into animations, more on that in my to-be-created Velox Turbo 2 video, but still, I was by no means an expert. Still, one looks at a couple examples later, and we have the first animated layer, the cape. Then came the eyes, which would blink at randomized intervals I set up. They're made up of 4 frames, a regular opened eye one that's the default, a transition to closed eyes, the closed eye blink, and then a slightly wider open set of eyes that the default to give them a bit of bounce like they're adjusting to the light when Cypress opens his eyes again. Now, we get into a bit more rocky territory, syncing the mouth to open and close when text is appearing to mimic talking, and then having it rest at a closed state when new text is no longer appearing. For this, I combined some new code with pre-existing code I had to make boop sounds whenever a character was talking. The code is a classic to all my projects, going as far back as Flight of the Cuckoo, where everyone spoke with little boop noises made from the mouth of yours truly. Because this code already detected when text was appearing and when it wasn't in order to make boop sounds, all I had to do was combine it with the open and closing mouth animations, making it so when text was appearing, a variable known as mouth moving was set as true, and when it wasn't, mouth moving would be set as false. Then we'd take a little trip over to our Cypress layered image, set up an expression group, and create a condition switch for each expression that would show either his static closed mouth version of the expression or his talking version of the expression based on the mouth moving variable. To clarify, a condition switch basically checks how a variable is set and then decides what to show based on that variable. I think. I'm kinda new to this, so take my explanations with a grain of salt. And that about wraps up the coding. And that about sums it up. Because I'm recording this while results are yet to be out, I can't really say what I think of it based on how we were rated, but regardless, I think this was a really good game. I really loved it. And usually when I make games, I can't even touch it for like a month or so before I can go back to play it because I'm just so sick of importing it in the code. But this one, I was actually playing it the next day and going through looking for bugs, of course, which I did fix. But yeah, I really enjoyed this game. I thought Catherine did an amazing job, and I'm still so happy that I got to work with her. And I hope that we can continue working together for other future games. So, with that in mind, I'll see you guys later. Bye bye!